Welcome back to Homeschooled Podcast. I'm Agostino Zoida. I'm the host of the Homeschooled Podcast. It's great to have you guys. I know we have a lot of options for podcasts, but you're here with us today, and that's all that really matters right now. My co-host, the co-host of the Homeschooled Podcast, is Kevin Lyons, still out of town, taking care of some family business, but doing all the editing still from afar. So thank you, Kevin, for that. And we do have a guest calling in today. Today, our guest is Stuart Thompson. You guys, Stuart is a wonderful guy. He's a sweet person. I've known him for several years. He's a comedian. He used to work at the Comedy Store, but you know what? Every now and then you got to spread your wings and go pursue what you were really after. Obviously, his career was first, and we're going to have him on today and check in with him. He has a brand new comedy album out, which we're going to talk about, and we'll get into the making of that. But before we begin, this episode is brought to you by Personal Chef To Go. It is the Homeschool Podcast delivered to your door, meal already prepped, already made, so you can eat healthy, so you can watch your portion control, so you can eat delicious food. Listen, you guys, Personal Chef To Go is like having your very own personal chef, and they just mail you the meals right to your house. Every week you pick your own menu, so they send you the menu, you pick your meals. You control how often you get the boxes. You control how many meals that you get. And listen, guys, just start off with the one box. Just try it out, see how you like it. I always say this is perfect for somebody who's busy, doesn't have time to cook, let alone healthy and delicious, and keep an eye on portion control. All that counts. You're trying to lose weight. You want to still eat delicious. You try to watch portion control. Maybe you don't know how to cook. Maybe you're always on the go. It's like, when do I have the time to eat healthy and all this stuff, you know? So Personal Chef To Go is amazing for that. Just real quick, they emailed me my menu this week. We got, here's what's on the menu. And by the way, you guys, I'm pescatarian. I don't eat meat. I only eat fish. So a lot of this stuff really works for me. But if you're straight up vegan, they got options for you. If you do eat meat, they got options for you. Here's what I saw on my menu this week: citrus salmon, mushroom and spinach stuffed shells, toasted walnut crusted chicken, lavender chicken, Korean style grilled beef, Southwest style shrimp. And guys, these are all coming on the side of stuff with wild rice, coming with a side of corn and black beans, cilantro lime chicken, lean sliced beef loin. What else do we got here? Grilled shrimp Caesar with our low fat Caesar dressing. Blackened chef's catch. Whoo, that looks like some good Cajun fish right there. You guys, by the way, I killed it over the weekend. I made, last weekend, I made, I've been making like lobster tails on the barbecue and trying new things and stuff like that, man. I killed it on the weekend. I got like these little disposable tins, you know the little tiny disposable tins that you buy. And I just made individual meals like that. I put some shrimp in there with Cajun spices. I put potatoes, corn on the cob, my little lobster tail with the garlic butter, all in one tin, covered with foil. Throw them on the grill. This way, when you serve them individually. People just take the foil off. Boom, steam comes out. You guys, I'm going to be posting pictures on my Instagram. It was phenomenal, and I think next time I might even throw clams in, and I think I can actually steam them on the barbecue. It's getting good this summer, you guys. It's getting good, but not everybody knows how to cook like I do, okay? Not everybody can be me. So you can have your own very own personal chef by going to Personal Chef To Go, but click the link in the description because you're going to be helping out the Homeschool Podcast. Best way to help out the Homeschool Podcast, you guys, head to homeschooled.pod.com. That's home, H-O-M-E, schooled, spelled the correct way. Pod.com, homeschoolpod.com. Click on merch. Please pick up a t-shirt or a sticker, a hoodie. We got a duffel bag. I got mugs, and it's all on there. I have masks. So, when you go to these places, they make you wear the placebo mask. You can at least rock your Homeschool Podcast gear at the same time. It's all on there. I got the masks. I have our old ex-president's logo, and for mugs, and I think I got a blanket. I got my album cover, and stickers. And then for the t-shirts and stuff, guys, we have our brand new Document the Journeys logo. It's awesome. It's fun. It's just a really cool design. I got my wife a tank top. She works out and it's really light, and she likes walking around, and it just looks cool. Several different colors to choose from, and that's how you support you guys. So you got Personal Chef to go. Click the link in the description and go to homeschoolpod.com and get a t-shirt or something. It really will help us out a lot. I'll put the link in there as well. All right, you guys, let's give our buddy Stuart Thompson a call. Stand by. Let's call this dude. Yes, a voice call. What's with the questions, iPhone? You want to do a voice call? You want to do it? Yeah, let's fucking do a voice call. All these questions all the time.
Hello?
Stuart.
Hey, how are you, Agostino?
Man, I'm great. It's been a long time since I've seen you or heard your voice.
Likewise, man. Good to hear it.
Dude, you know what's weird? It's like there's certain people that, like, you know, during all this we haven't seen in so long. I almost couldn't even have picture your face. I was just like, obviously I'd known you for years, and I'm going like, I'm trying to picture your face. I couldn't even picture it. I'm looking at your new comedy album here, which is an animated cover, and then I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen him in so long. I can't even picture his face. And the second I heard your voice, it all came back to me.
Well, I'm grateful that Ed Greer, another funny comedian and very talented artist, did a pretty good likeness. I hope it's doing me some justice.
Yeah, it looks good, man. I like this album cover, dude. I like something different, and it kind of reminds me of like what, I don't know if you're familiar with Chad Daniels.
Yes, I'm pretty familiar with him.
I like his comedy a lot, dude, and I noticed that his albums are always kind of really, the covers are like really unique, and I think that it kind of reminded me of that. You know, you got yourself there with the superhero cape, and it's animated, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. It stands out.
Thank you very much. That was something that we actually took a little bit of thought. We put a lot of thought into because I'd actually had that cover made for an album I was trying to record about 3 years ago. And the recording did not go the way I wanted to, but when it came around time for me to give it another try, the album art still, I didn't want to waste it because it was such good art. And the person who helped me master the tracks and get the sound right wanted something that didn't feel as much like a comedy album cover, just more like an album cover for anything.
It's hard to do something that hasn't been done like a million times with comedy, every comedy album. I don't know. Like, I'm going to have like, I'm going to wear a suit, I'm going to take my headshot. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
And everyone's got to do what they feel and what feels right for them. But there was definitely a period of comedy albums where it felt like it was almost a requirement for someone to be doing something just a little bit wacky in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, not your grandpa's humor. Just like, it just felt very, it felt forced.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that people feel comfortable doing, whatever feels good to them.
I think you're right. I kind of noticed that with stand-up specials as well. Like that, the period of time where there is a new Netflix special every week, they would all have like something, like you said, there's got to be something wacky. And it was usually like in the beginning leading up to the special, like how to open it. And I felt that they were getting like a little forced, like this isn't even funny and it doesn't make sense to the special, Or
it's just, it might not be who that comedian is. They might be someone who's like, who might not be that interested in you knowing who they are so much as just, I need you to hear this funny material that I cultivated for you.
Yeah.
But for some people it's brilliant. And I've watched many specials. That's how I got into comedy.
Same.
I was listening to albums and watching specials once my family got cable, and I was just transfixed. And I would see people on those like mid-90s HBO specials do this little like try to turn it into some sort of concert film when they might not have it might not have been necessary.
Off the top of your head, since you watched a lot of specials, what would you say is your favorite opening? Like where they did something like a little different, or maybe they did a little sketch in the beginning. Could you think of one that you just really thought worked and was in your favorite?
There's one that stands out, and it is from one of my favorite specials. I don't know if it's my favorite because of the opening necessarily. I think the content really sends it home.
That's not what I meant,
but
by the way.
I appreciate. No, I hear you, but I think it's because of the opening was realistic. I think that's I appreciate a realistic take on things in comedy when I make jokes. So, or applying reason to a situation. So, I don't know if you've seen this one. It was Richard Jeni's "A Big Steaming Pile of Me." It was made for HBO in 0506, I want to say.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it.
And dude, if you have an HBO password or you have someone else's, highly recommend you watch this one. I don't want to build it up too much, but Richard Jeni is one of my favorites, and I think this special kind of showed me how you could make a stand-up special kind of like a one-person show, but without it feeling forced. So the scene is at the beginning. It's him in the shower, and he's like thinking about. You can hear a voiceover of him while he's in the shower. He's like, "Yeah, what do I want to call this special? I mean, how do I want to start this? And he waxes philosophically and poetically, and no, I don't want to do that." And it's like, and then it's like, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, kind of thing. It's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just call it what it is. And so he, with his finger, wipes some of the condensation off the shower wall to write the name of the special, "A Big Steaming Pile of Me."
That's
call it what it is.
Right. That's great. Yeah, and I think that's so relatable for comedians because we're always in the shower thinking about what we're going to do. And to be honest with you, like before I perform and I go take a shower before my set, I'm always thinking about my set or, kind of fantasizing of like how I would tape my album. And I think that's so true that we do that.
Yeah. It's like putting your game face on. Like
Absolutely.
If you're an athlete.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I really get my thinking done there, and every time I get ready to go do a show, especially when I'm on the road, I'll just make sure I give myself a good amount of time to to just be able to chill in the shower, to really get my thoughts together. And it's almost like a lot of comedians meditate before they go on stage, and I find that does help, but I'm often not able to when I'm out at a comedy club or something. So I just kind of do it before I leave the house, and I really, I think meditation in the shower or like just being deep thoughts is like the best. It's the best for me. I like being in water. And I kind of think about,
I do.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think about like Bruce Lee when he says, "Be like water," and you adapt to the situation and stuff. And it kind of reminds me of that.
I think that's very true. And I think any routine before you're about to do something performative is meditative. For me, it's not just the shower; it's the act of getting ready. It's putting on, I don't want to call them like show clothes, but I do have clothes that are a little bit nicer that I prefer to wear on stage than others.
Absolutely, man. I have jackets and sneakers that will only ever get seen on the stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
I have, I think, one pair of shoes that I don't really wear out in public much because they're nice sneakers, and it's. Unless I'm like gonna have to be like out all day for some reason, and then I have to just come straight back to a show.
Yeah.
Then it's rare that I will be wearing my show clothes out all day, just because I know I'm a little clumsy and I spill shit on myself when I'm eating, and sometimes I want to have dinner before a show, and I'll spill barbecue sauce on myself. I'm like, God damn it, now I got to go put on another shirt.
It's different when you're out doing. If you go out doing spots, it's different. You don't have to dress up every time. But something in my mind, which I'm already kind of conscientious about, like clothes and fashion, like it's just something I like. But in my mind, I always think to myself, people are usually eye level with my feet. And you know what I mean? Like, I always think, like, I want to have clean shoes on when I'm, like, on the road or doing a paid, gig or a professional comedy club. But, when you're out doing spots, who cares? We eat and we spill stuff, like you said. But, like, I'm always thinking, like, if I dress with dirty shoes or beat up sneakers, I think that they're probably going to think like, you know, what is this? This guy's not a professional. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's my own little insecurity.
You could think of it that way, but I do believe that, and I was raised to believe that, like, how you put yourself together does tell people a little bit about you, even if it's just your sense of style or your taste.
Yes.
And that can bring people in. And I mean, I prefer to wear dark clothing for the most part on stage, just because it kind of goes back to the old, vaudeville days where you're seeing people in some auditorium, and if you're far back enough, the only, when people were performing with black tuxes and white gloves, you want to be able to see the thing that's not the coat or the pants. You want to see their hands and their face,
right? And
so that's typically what is the amount of skin that I want to show. And because those are the things that I'm gesticulating with. My
thing is, I don't want to wear anything distracting, like exactly like you're saying. Like, I often wear dark big stuff. Prints? Big prints, absolutely. I never wear them on stage, and I never wear anything with writing or words on like my shirt, because I'm worried that someone's going to be trying to read my shirt. You know what I mean, and not be listening to me. So I never want to wear anything distracting or loud colors. So I do. It's so funny. There are certain comics that I know that I can. Like, there's certain guys like I'll tell this to, and I feel like they'll make fun of me. And then there's certain guys that I know I can call them up and they know what I'm saying. Like Jimmy Schubert's a guy that I can call up and I can be like, bro, I send him a picture of a jacket I found and be like, dude, isn't this a nice stage piece? And he'll be like, oh yeah, bro, that's a good one to wear on the stage, because there's something that you have to find something with some flavor, with some fashion, but it's not going to be distracting, and it's kind of hard to find things like that.
Yeah. Do you overheat on stage at all? Can you layer up when you're performing?
I don't,
because I've seen you. I remember seeing you do your show at the Comedy Store. There was a show that you ran, and that I would work sometimes when I was a door guy there, and sometimes I'd see you with a jacket on stage, and sometimes I would see you without one. Is that an issue for you?
No, not really. I mean, I like wearing jackets. I think if it's a nice jacket, it kind of goes with everything. But yes, sometimes. I mean, I definitely get overheated on stage and will sweat and stuff like that. But I won't wear a jacket if it's particularly very heavy. If it's something that's kind of light, or some denim jackets I can get away with. And I think it really depends on how long of a set I'm doing. But I don't know, I just like wearing jackets, and to the point where sometimes I'm willing to risk being a little hot or sweating, because I'm sweating anyway.
Yeah.
When I go on stage for a long time, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I'm going to be soaked.
Yeah, that's true. It's finding that balance, because I have a tendency to run warm, and sometimes me too. Yeah. I know I'm going to sweat a little bit, but if I know if I'm sweating in the wrong places, it'll start to get noticeable.
Yeah.
Which is again why I go towards darker clothing. But I don't mind if I'm sweating so much in my pit area, because that's just part of the deal. And but if I'm sweating visibly on my face, then that can start to cause problems. I've had times where I sweat just enough, the lights are just hot enough, and I'll get something in my eye, and I just can't get it out. And I don't know if this is a thing that other performers run into. I haven't talked about it with a lot of people, but it's happened to me 6 or 7 times, and the lights will be just bright enough, and I feel like I gotta take a couple minutes, or I gotta to just dab my goddamn eye, because otherwise it looks like I'm actively crying out of one side of my face.
Man,
I feel like it throws people off. I don't know if it does. I don't know if anyone notices from the audience, but I notice, and it's painful.
I'm sure it's way more noticeable if you sit there with one eye closed for 5 minutes because you didn't want to wipe it.
Yeah, it's twitchy.
I've never had that happen, and I pour buckets from my forehead. I've never had sweat get my eye where, I don't know. Maybe I got really bushy eyebrows. so it keeps it out.
Yeah, you've got a nice sponge up there on the brow. I think it happens when I put too much skin cream on, like moisturizer, and then it because I have a girlfriend who is a woman of color, and she told me that if I don't do it don't use moisturizer as a white man, I'll look old and withered
as you
before
get
I know
older.
it. Yeah, it's been helpful, honestly. It has been, but I'm curious if it's caused me some pain on a couple show nights when I've been.
Yeah, I'm sure that people would be surprised to know all that we thought that goes into every single thing we do on stage, even like what we wear. And it's like, I definitely think about it a lot. And you know what's funny is I used to really, it's funny you asked me about the jacket or wearing layers, is because I used to really wear stuff based on what would make me look fat or not. And I don't know if you remember, but when I kind of first started, not really when I first started, but maybe in my early years, I got really heavy. Like I was like 260 pounds, and I put on a lot of weight. And I would have a lot of material.
I remember seeing that you slimmed up.
Yes, I lost 70 pounds after I had divorced my first wife. I lost 70 pounds. And for the most part, have kept it off. Like I have not gone over 200 again in the last 5 years.
Well, kudos to you, man.
Thank you.
I know during COVID, it's hard to keep the pounds off.
Man, I definitely put some on, and I'm dangerously getting close to 200 again. So I right away went time to back to business. So back to watching what I eat a little bit better. But I had back then when I was heavy, I had a lot of material about being heavy, or a lot of material about dieting and stuff. And if I had when you're a fat guy, you have a lot of clothes that make you look a little less fat that you wear. When you go out, you're like, oh, this I don't look that fat in this. It's nice and big on me, and you can't tell I got a belly. So I do have clothes like that. But I would also often get ready for a show and go, does this make me look not that fat? So maybe I should wear something that makes me look more fat, because then I can't do the joke. I would really think that to myself.
Well, yeah, I've noticed that there are certain things that work for me for sure. There's another perk of dark clothes. Black is slimming, and I kind of learned it from my dad. My dad is low key a hype beast in his late 50s, and he dresses flyer than me sometimes because his budget's a little bit more expansive than mine.
Okay.
But, he also has this incredible amount of shoes. But I've gotten a lot of advice from my dad about vertical stripes are also slimming because they lengthen your torso.
Correct.
Horizontal stripes I've found, or having a jacket or any sort of upper layer that opens up, would often make me look wide. And I just see it in pictures. I would not consider myself a fat guy, but I'm definitely not toned enough to pull off certain open shirt or open jacket kind of looks.
Not that you're a fat guy, but it's just some things are just not flattering. And the vertical stripes thing and the horizontal stripe thing, that's 100% a fact. Bro, I come from an old school Italian family. Certain things you're just supposed to wear and you're just supposed to not wear. I don't know, I'll watch movies or TV shows and I'll be telling my wife, I get mad at the way that they're dressed, especially if it's a guy who's playing an Italian, and I'm like, an Italian would never wear this. I get mad.
What's an example of that?
Okay, so if you wear a suit, they usually, I'll see a guy in a TV show, he's wearing a suit, and his dress shirt has got stripes or a pattern, and his tie also has stripes or a pattern. That's a big no-no, especially to Italians. Real Italian men don't dress that way. If you have a pattern tie, you do a solid shirt, and vice versa.
So there's no power clashing in the Italian community.
Yeah, and then they got pinstripe suit on with a patterned shirt, and then a vertical striped tie. It's there's too many different patterns going on.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a big no-no. I can understand how just in general with any person how that might be a little bit busy of a look, but I did have I did have a friend who worked at a suit shop help me get outfitted for a suit, and I was questioning him about some of the, I was worried that certain patterns might clash because if I am wearing a suit on stage, which I have from time to time,
yeah,
I'm concerned. But he would often advise me like, this pattern is small enough, and the way this pattern works, it kind of blends well, and maybe you keep one of these things solid.
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah, it's I do definitely get frustrated when I see men out in the world look, and women too. I mean, I understand there's certain days where you got to just say fuck it, and
yes.
you gotta go out into the world and not, and maybe you need to get something done. You don't need to be flattering for it,
right? Yeah.
But, I always appreciate it when someone puts in a little bit of effort, and
me too.
But during COVID, when my girlfriend and I, since we don't have an opportunity to perform, we've kind of set one day a week for date night, and we intentionally dress a little bit nicer, even if we're just staying at home.
Yes.
And one time we went to the In-N-Out drive-in or drive-through, and got our In-N-Out wearing nice clothes, and then parked outside of a nicer restaurant.
Yeah,
and just had our In-N-Out.
I 100% agree with that, man. And listen, I've been saying this since the beginning of the lockdown and or quarantine, whatever you want to call it, that if you normally set your alarm at a certain time, you should still be setting it at that time, even if you don't have anywhere to go. You know what I mean? Like, I've been trying to tell people, like, keep your usual patterns, and as we've 5 months into quarantine, if you will, I've only realized that me saying that in the beginning was nothing more than true, and how important it is. And I don't really want to like harp on COVID on this episode, but like, I think that quarantine can absolutely be a state of mind, and obviously there's only so much you can do. Like, you got to pay your bills, income stopped, and some people can't go to work. So like, I don't mean in that sense, but I mean mentally, this is difficult for a lot of people, especially in our industry, who are already mentally struggling, and now a quarantine. And I think that
totally,
quarantine is a state of mind, and I never this whole time did not feel like I was on a lockdown.
Routine's important.
Yes,
it can, and if your mind, if you can set your mind to a routine that works for you, and take care of what you need to take care of, and do what you can within your means, then I'm all for that. I'm all for people flourishing as best they can.
Right. I mean, you can't ignore that the world is different. Obviously I got to wear a mask to buy groceries, and obviously, I had to make some adjustments and stuff, but it was really the adjustments that made me feel like I wasn't in quarantine. It was like one night my wife and I did, in the living room, we moved all the furniture, and we put, like these little beach chairs, like folding chairs out. And and we just chilled in the folding chairs, which might seem ridiculous because like your couch is right there. But but we just did like a movie night on the floor, with the dog and a blanket and like picnic and snacks. And there's things that you can do,
Yeah, when you don't have a bunch of money to throw down for like a remodel of your house, a really easy, low-cost remodel is just rearrange the furniture. I just put it in a different spot, and it'll feel different. You'll have to like, oh, the couch is here now. I gotta not run into that.
You gotta break up that feng shui.
Yeah, it'll feel, or maybe, see if you can find a different balance. And I think there's some hitting those reset buttons can be really rejuvenating.
You know what's funny? Like, I worked at the Ha Comedy Club for many, many years, and I would perform there probably more than any club at the time, right? So,
okay, yeah.
I don't know if you're very familiar with the Ha Comedy Club or how often you would go there, but something that the owner, Jack Sr., would do is that he was often rearranging the showroom. Like, they had couches, sometimes, and they had... and you would come in one day, and I would come in, and Jack had been there early, And all of a sudden, like, he brought the couches from the back to like the front and made a VIP in the front, and then the table that was over here, now that seats only 2, and the table over here now seats 5. Everything was rearranged, and I often thought that was actually kind of cool, because when you were stuck performing at one place all the time, like when you worked at the Comedy Store, you probably performed there more than any other club, and you get used to this stage, and then when you go to a new place, it throws you off. So I thought that was cool, that I was always performing in a place with the furniture was constantly changing, and the arranged seating where everybody was always different, so it definitely kept it like fresh.
Yeah, as a performer, it also keeps you on your toes. It's like, there's people over there now. I gotta maybe face them once in a while when I'm delivering these jokes.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about your comedy album a little bit, and
sure.
And I'm glad that everything that we've talked about so far, I'm so glad we talked about, because I think that a lot of people don't understand the work that goes into recording something, whether it be just an album or a special. Like, you just watch Netflix and you go like, oh, here's Netflix, and then your relatives go like, oh, when are you gonna get your Netflix special? You're funnier than that guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they tell you.
Very much so.
You know what I mean? And people just don't realize the amount of work that went behind not only getting a Netflix special, but putting it together. Like we were talking about in the shower, you think about how would you do it, and we were talking about in the big, how do you open it? Like, what are those funny little openings that we've saw? Like, the one that stands out for me, I think, is Jim Gaffigan, where he, it fit him because he was in his green room, like, so full from eating pizza, and then he went out there onto the stage. Like, that's one that stands out to me. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but
it does tell you exactly who he is.
Exactly, and it is funny, and it definitely, I've remembered it after all these years, and But my favorites are the ones where the guys show them walking out to the stage from green room or from wherever they were. Like, I know Chris Rock has one that follows him all the way down in this big theater that he did. It was like from the green room, and it's like downstairs to go to the theater. I like stuff that kind of, without saying anything, puts you in the mood of live entertainment. Because I think something with recorded comedy is difficult to translate is the live version. Like, everything's always better in person, than watching it on TV or something. So whatever's going to give people feeling like we're at a live event. And I really like Bill Burr often will do, like, he'll open it with whatever city he's in, maybe kind of show him walking around the city earlier that day, just to music and like the intro credits. And it just kind of gives you like a vibe, or I think Louis C.K. a lot of comedians will show like kind of like maybe like a time lapse of people getting to the theater, finding their seats. And that just reminds you of going to the theater. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, I think with this... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, because mine was going to move on to something else, so go ahead.
Oh, no, I what I'm grateful for is the people who helped me with the sound quality of the show when we did the recording. Abhay Nadkarni at the setup did a phenomenal job miking the room. And I think they just had it, they've had that mic set up there for a little while. But, I think about when I recorded it, I think there were like 6 or 7 different microphones that were, getting the sound from different angles of the room. And so when it all got mastered together, my friend Kyle with his indie label, Radland Records, he blended all those tracks together in such a way that it sounds like you're there. And that's what I love about, audio albums. Like, I want to feel like I'm in the room. No matter how big or small, I want to feel like I'm there with you. I think this one does that, which I'm grateful for.
I just downloaded it. I'm excited to listen to it. Me
too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. What was I just going to say? I was going to ask you, where did you record it?
I recorded it in San Francisco.
Nice.
In the Tenderloin neighborhood at a place called The Setup, it's a very, up until COVID, it's been a very, thriving indie show venue there. I think they've had music there too, but on the weekends they've had, really great comedy shows, and they, were trying to throw me a night where I could record, because I knew that it was going to be a place that would be a place that I could, still reasonably.
How many seats?
And it was 65, 70.
Oh, it's perfect.
So, yeah, and it's like for someone at my level who's really just sort of introducing himself to a wider audience, I think that's a great place to start. And, it's not to say that, that's where I see myself, the audience I see myself performing to for a long time. I do think for albums, I do like the ones that are, you can tell it's in a much smaller space. It feels like people are almost on top of each other, laughing together.
Nice, man. I love listening to an album. If I always say, like, the best is the live experience, and if you can't do that, listening to comedy specials are the best. I actually prefer it to watching them. And I feel like when you're driving,
it leaves more to the imagination.
Yes, for you to paint like those pictures in your mind of them, whether they're telling a story or walking you through a bit or something. Like, you kind of picture everything.
Yeah, and you picture, like, okay, who am I sitting around? What's the lighting like? How close am I? Is there a table in front of me? It's, sometimes I think the one I think audio wise I think is the most distinctive is that Bill Burr one where he did in Philadelphia. I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's he records it in Philly, and I think where the recording, the sound booth was, it was kind of near where the servers were like processing checks and stuff like that.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
You can hear them shuffling around a little bit, and you can hear some glasses clink, and you can also hear what sounds like a 90s cash register, processing receipts, because as you probably know, most comedy clubs have not upgraded some of their their tech.
I know exactly the album you're talking about. You can hear the tickets printing every time they put it in an order.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it's strangely not distracting. It kind of puts you there in a very real way.
It puts you there. What's the name of that album? It's like something like Incorrect or something like that.
I'm looking on my phone right now because it's one of the the few albums that I've bought and still listen to regularly.
It's his first album. It's not a special. It's just audio only.
It's called Emotionally Unavailable.
Emotionally Unavailable. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those times where it really works. And the one that I recorded before that didn't work out was at the La Jolla Comedy Store. But the guy who recorded it, I bring it up only for this reason. The guy who set up the mics to help me, this really great audio engineer, Mike Duncan, did a fantastic job even when I was listening to it and grimacing at the material I was putting together and how it was being, just the things that I was nitpicking about myself. He made it sound like you were there. He made it sound like you were sitting right in the room. And I will, I credit him fully with his expertise on that.
Why did you not release that one?
I didn't like the way it sounded as far as the material and the audience response. I feel like some of the material wasn't finished.
Okay.
In a way that I feel about the material that I put on this album, Dandy Man, now. So I think it just needed a little bit of time, and there was some stuff that was a little too. It was also the attempt that I was, the feat that I was trying to achieve, which was a 45 to 50-minute album created from 4 feature-length sets.
That's perfect.
I think it was a good idea that I just couldn't execute with the experience that I had.
Okay.
I had. I was only able to do about 20 minutes per set. So that means that I had to, the early show set and the late show set basically had to be 2 different things, and sometimes it's hard to start over, and it just meant I was only able to do certain bits once, and they had to land that one time. And the laughter is also different from 4 different shows. But this time, we just did one show, one time, went about 50 minutes or so, and I think it sounded much more cohesive.
It's funny that you say that about the first one that you recorded. So I'm about to have an album come out soon as well.
Are you? That's great, man.
Yeah. I actually finally took care of it during the COVID lockdowns. I was just like, I'm finally going to take the time to get this done because I had recorded it many years ago. And
Okay.
I also was not happy with it. Not necessarily because it was partially because of the sound quality, and throughout the years I actually got that fixed. I got somebody a sound engineer to fix it up for me, and so it sounds great now.
Clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, cleaned it up a little bit, now it sounds good.
Okay.
And then what I was doing with it is I was just making like hard copies, like bootlegs, and just selling them, after the shows.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, totally. I've known people who've done that, and I kind of was ready to do that if I wasn't able to make my work with someone to help me do it. But that's fantastic, man.
Yeah, well, I never released it anywhere, and so during and it was mostly because I wasn't happy with some of the stuff in it. Same with you, like some of the reaction or some of the or material. Same thing. I wasn't happy with it. But during this lockdown, I went through it, and I've been meaning to do it, and I went through it, and I really kind of shaved off what was bothering me so much, and it wasn't even that much. Like it was the whole thing was like maybe like an hour 10, and it's down to like 51 minutes, which ironically I just noticed your album's 51 minutes, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I had actually edited out the things that bothered me, and it wasn't even that much, and now I've got this solid 51-minute album that's going to come out soon, and I'm excited about it. And the best part is that I recorded a couple of years ago, so I'm not doing any of that material anymore. I have a completely different hour that I would, once the world opens again, I would love to record that, and have two out at the same time.
Sure.
But we have to think about everything. We have to think about like the album cover. You got to, we think about what we're gonna wear when we perform, even though it's a CD. You know what I mean? Like I gotta dress nice for the recording.
Presentation in many forms.
Absolutely, and I love that you did it in a small place in San Francisco. I bet you it's phenomenal, dude. I love little places like that where you can do a nice show for people in an intimate room. Did you ever do? It used to be called the Purple Onion.
Yes,
dude,
I did.
I love that room.
Yeah, it's I miss it. I miss it a lot. I'm from the Bay Area, and I was born in San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
partially why I wanted to record this album there. And especially because a lot of some of the people who came to the show were people who saw me like really early on, maybe too soon, and it was nice to show them what I had worked on since the last time they saw me. Yeah, but there was a guy who ran it was kind of like a bringer show, but it was also, because it was a smaller market, they would get a fair amount of just tickets off the street. Walk-up tickets, but if people came to see you, you got a cut of the tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to, the guy was this guy named Jabari Davis, and he started the show at this place called the Dark Room, which is another small black box theater in the Mission that closed. But he moved it to the Purple Onion, and I could just feel the history being in that room, because they had pictures of of Lenny Bruce and Phyllis Diller and Zach Galifianakis and Pryor, and you could see, and the stage kind of almost felt like it had been carved out of like a cave. Like it was like, because, this really not handicap friendly, set of stairs that were like marble. So if it had been raining at all, you were bound to slip. It was like only banister on one side. So if you can make your way down, if you can hobble your way down, there's this really, really intimate 120 room, seat space, and it felt like you were right on top of the crowd.
Yes.
And I got to close out one of those shows that Jabari was running, I was 21. I had started when I was, 18 going on 19. He's like, all right, man, I think you're ready to close out one of these shows. And, whether he was right or not, I was like, yeah, I should be closing out one of these shows. I'm going to be headlining in a year.
Yeah.
So I got to do like 25 minutes, and I really worked on it, much in the way that I worked to get this album together, just like going up a bunch, and I was really honing this material and timing it just to see if I got all the timing right. And I'm not, I wouldn't do a lot of that material that I did then now.
Sure.
But it was one of those, it gave me a glimpse of like, okay, if you put in this type of work and you really, hustle for this, then you can, reap the rewards and,
absolutely
have a really powerful show.
Absolutely.
And it was a level of laughter in that room that I can't say I've yet to repeat, but it's not as often as I would like sometimes, just because of the acoustics and everything. And
right. Back then, was it still called Purple Onion back then?
Yes, it was called the Purple Onion, and it was below this cafe in North Beach, which is Little Italy for San Francisco, called Cafe Macarone. And I think the place changed ownership, and so they closed it, and then that same space got remodeled, and then it became a venue called Doc's Lab.
That's right.
For a few years, and I don't know what's happened to it now because I don't think Doc's Lab is there anymore.
And that place
moved the Purple Onion to another bar around the corner for a while.
I see. Yeah, that area is now called like Fisherman's Wharf, considered, right? That's what they call it.
The wharf is by the water. This is a little bit inland from that.
Okay.
So yeah, this part of North Beach is kind of a stretch that follows Columbus Avenue in San Francisco. So, but in Columbus Avenue does go to the water. And it to one end of the wharf, and then at the other end, kind of closer to where the Purple Onion was the end of the financial district.
It's all coming back to me now. I did it. So first of all, I was in San Francisco doing the Punchline. I think I was opening for Joey Diaz, and somebody there who was the MC, and he was friends with the guy who booked Doc's Lab. He was just like, "Oh, dude, you're awesome. You can totally headline Doc's Lab." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So he had booked me to headline Doc's Lab, which I did. And at the time, I didn't realize it was the famous Purple Onion from Zach Galifianakis' special. And then when I found that out,
it was remodeled.
Like, yeah, totally remodeled, but still very cool room, very low ceilings, like in the basement, and just a pleasure to perform there. And then I did it a second time. And it was just awesome, man. I love rooms like that where you can really just be an artist in front of a crowd, where you're like right on top of them and you can interact with them, and with low ceilings. And I'm sure the place that you recorded your album at is probably low ceilings and little San Francisco hidden, and I'm sure it's like gonna sound phenomenal on the album.
Thank you. Yeah, it has a very similar feel, which is, I think, definitely a contributor as to why I appreciated it. And I didn't do a lot of riffing up top just because I wasn't sure how I was going to translate. But it's what I like about comedy rooms is sometimes it doesn't, from the outset, it doesn't feel like you're not really quite sure where you're going as like an audience member. It's like because the Tenderloin's a rough part of San Francisco, just because there's a lot of people who have fallen on hard times. There's a lot of people without homes living out there, and it can feel a little rough and chaotic. And then you go into this bar on Hyde Street, and then you walk past this tiny bar, and then there's just a little pathway down some stairs, and then all of a sudden you're in this really well put together space. So people, who haven't been to that space, that's kind of what it feels like.
Gotcha. How long ago did you record it?
How long ago?
Yes.
Yeah, I recorded it at the beginning of February. So I, wasn't my intention to, record something right before, shelter in place.
Of course.
Here in California.
But how glad are you that you did?
Dude, I can't imagine, because I know I've heard about, situations where some comics were intending to record something or record a TV spot or record a special for Netflix or HBO or something, and it, everything had to be rescheduled.
Sure.
or tours got canceled. I was in a similar situation myself, and it was, if I had not recorded that material, I am concerned that it might not have ever gotten out to, in the way that it did, because I think a lot of that material would have either not applied to me quite as much, and it would have kind of rotten on the vine.
Yeah, so lucky you got it out just in the nick of time, and to release it during all of this. Totally, dude. And I mean, if you would have had to wait until the world came back, it would have taken so long to actually record something, because not only would we have to be like kind of going by the new guidelines and regulations and waiting for indoor things to actually open, but who knows how long it was going to take for all that to come out. It could have been like a year. So you really did that at the perfect time.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm grateful the way it worked out. I have a very sort of loose belief that, things work out the way they're supposed to. And
absolutely.
Even if we can't see it in the moment. And it was really impressed upon me the way it turned out this way.
Awesome.
So thanks, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad that you did it and you were able to do that. Like, I'm fortunate too that I was sitting on this hour-long recording myself that I never did anything with it, which 51 out of what is it, 70 minutes was usable, like completely solid bits. So I was very fortunate. I was like, you know what, man, like I'm gonna turn some revenue during this lockdown and release something. So it did get a little bit of delayed. I don't know what you use, but I distribute through CD Baby, and they actually, I experienced them closing their warehouse during COVID, so it delayed my release.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had someone who was helping me with that, so I'm grateful that I didn't have to deal with some of the tech aspects of it. But I think there was there was like a timeline that we had to be mindful of, but I'm not aware of all the details. I'm sorry it was delayed, but kudos to you for having the patience to revisit that material, because I know you talk to a lot of comedians, and I don't know how often you've discussed the revisiting of material, and recorded in any sense. Like I record. I can't tell you how much material I've recorded on my phone and not listened to.
Yeah. Yo, me too.
Whether it's out of fear or listlessness or any number of things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I figure I might as well now. I have the time, and there's some bits on there that I don't even do anymore, and I forgot about, and I was just like, well, that's actually kind of really good, and I can still do that.
Yeah, maybe it's like, okay, you don't get to go on the album, you go back right into the chamber, buddy.
Yeah, so it's great, man. I can't wait to listen to your album this week. It is called Dandy Man, right? Am I correct? Dandy Man,
yes.
One word, Dandy Man.
And people can get it. All the places you get albums. The big ones are Apple and Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Tidal. But it's in a bunch of other places, and I hope people get a chance to listen to it, and I hope they enjoy it.
Excellent. Yeah, I see. It's about 18 tracks, right?
18 tracks, yep.
18 tracks, 51 minutes. Stuart Thompson, Dandy Man, guys. Check it out. And I know it's tough times for everybody, but I don't like asking for charity on anything. But we are giving you something. So at least all you got to do is download his album, and you'll be helping out a comedian who's a hard worker. And at the same time, you're benefiting from a comedy album. Like we were saying, we gotta keep the normal. We have to keep our routines and have date night, even if it's at home. And maybe you guys get dressed up, throw on Stuart Thompson's comedy album, and make a little date night of it. And we keep.
That sounds lovely.
It does sound lovely. Maybe I'll do that myself, actually.
I did. Hey, listen, if you're going out on a nice date, if you're having having some intimate time with your loved ones, you just, throw a little me on there.
Yeah, throw on Stuart Thompson. Dude, I did my first Zoom recording the other day, which I really didn't want to do any. And somebody was like, I'll pay you. And I was like, all right, I'll do a Zoom recording. And nobody turned their cameras on or their sound. And so I was just performing, and I was like, you know what? I hope that you guys are enjoying this. And I told them, I go, this is probably not true at all, but in my head, I'm picturing you guys open the bottle of wine. You mirrored your laptop to your big flat screen. You know what I mean? And you're watching me and laughing with, like, fireplace. And I'm like, it's probably not what's happening. But in my mind, that's what's happening.
A man can dream. And that's, part of, that's, sort of an unexpected beauty of this time is, we get to imagine some things that we don't get to experience firsthand right now. And
yes.
So, for all you know, that's what they're doing, man.
And just talking about like those little rooms, like they got in the basements with those low ceilings, and performing in front of a small little group, man, it got me like kind of like sad and happy at the same time. Even just talking about it with you, like I wish I can go do it right now.
I'm keeping hope alive that we can do it again soon, and it's weird, but until then, we can be wistful about it.
Yeah, I got stuff. I've done some outdoor shows. I've done some backyard shows. I've traveled to Phoenix and did House of Comedy for a week. That was great, and so I've been fortunate enough to work and perform, and so I'll take what I can get right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways for us to be of service during this time to other people, even if it's not directly through our comedy. We can just be good neighbors and good good to those around us. And that goes a long way too.
You said it, Stuart.
I did say it.
You guys, make sure you check out his album. It's called Danny Man. It's Stuart Thompson. I'll put the link in the description. I use Apple personally. That's where I download it from. You can get it from anywhere where he mentioned, but I'll put the link down in the description for you guys. And that's pretty much it, dude. I want to thank you. Tell your girlfriend, which I know I met her once, that I said hello. And
Hannah? I will, yes.
Is it Hannah?
Anna.
Hannah, thank you so much. Tell her thank you for letting us bar you for like an hour. And
I will. Thank you.
No problem, dude. I hope I see you real soon. I have been going to the Comedy Store for like once a week for a cocktail and just sitting there in the parking lot and having a drink and meet up with like a comic or two. But they're really good about social distance and been trying to support. But if you're gonna be that way, let me know and hopefully I'll be working with you real soon.
Yeah, likewise, dude. Hopefully we'll see each other very soon.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too, Agostino. Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. Thank you. That was Stuart Thompson, you guys. He's a great dude. I know his style of comedy, and I can't wait to listen to this album. Now, even more that he got me all excited thinking about those small little, like, Bay Area rooms. I mean, I know a lot of places all over the country have it, but I know specifically, like, the vibe that it's going to have, and it's got me even more excited because I know his type of comedy just from watching him here and there over the years, and I've actually never heard him do a complete hour or 51 minutes. So I'm excited. Hopefully you guys will join me and we will support a comedian, and hopefully my comedy album will be out pretty shortly. I am getting updates that the warehouse is now open, distribution is back on, so I think we're looking at any day here now, and as soon as it's available, I'm going to let you guys know. My album is called The Bad Guy, and it'll be available everywhere pretty soon. And for the time being, check out Stuart Thompson. It doesn't cost a lot of money just to support another stand-up comedian. Like we said, we know you guys are going through struggling times, but if you can, you need to be entertained too. But if you can't spare anything, little things help, like, picking up a T-shirt or a CD from Stuart Thompson. It's called Danny Man, and you guys check it out. Thank you so much for supporting the Homeschool Podcast. Don't forget, the link for Personal Chef to Go is in the description of this podcast. So is the link to get a T-shirt from Homeschooled, and also the third link, the last but not least, to download. I'm going to do the Apple one. That's personally what I use, but you can find it anywhere. But I'll put the link to download Dandy Man by Stuart Thompson. I want to give a big thank you to Stuart for calling in. I want to give a big thank you to Kevin Lyons, our co-host, for all his hard work. And I want to give a big, giant thank you for all of you for listening to this podcast and for continuing to support the Homeschooled Podcast. I'm Agostino Zoida. See you guys next time.